you say that again for the online folks? I forgot to unmute.
Oh, well, I'm just gonna start here then, so that'll be just fine.
Great.
Because we don't have Brian Rosenthal and David Sedaris, the item number 2.3 for the downtown overlay standards, which it's pretty deep, and Lori was going to go over that. We're going to hold that until the next. We'll actually probably hold that until the May meeting because I don't think we'll have an April meeting because it's pretty thick, and I think that everybody needs to participate and have that understanding before we go in that. So that's my announcement, and so I'll need a motion to amend agenda.
I'd like to comment that it'd be nice if Lori has the time, if we had like one or two questions, because if some of us had already looked at it, maybe that could help prepare us. We can address those questions, like, so not go through the whole thing, but just a couple questions, if possible.
Does that require an amendment, or can we still roll with it? How do we go with that?
It's a discussion, so it should be fine.
Okay. So do I need an amendment? Just let it sit. But we just won't go deep.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So back to, I need an approval for the agenda for March 16th. Thank you, George. And a second.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And I need an approval for the meeting minutes for February 16th. Thank you, George.
A second.
Thank you, Sean. Agreement? Any opposed? Thank you. Agreement. And do we have any public comment? Jay?
We had one potential one.
Oh, goody, I love public comment.
Well, I just wanted to introduce myself to the committee. My name is Rand Brown, and I'm the Industry and Business Partnership Development Coordinator. That's a title for you. Say that
Thanks.
fast. With
that your card's so
PCTO
small.
McTraining Center. And so we're just happy to be here. I'm sitting in for Patty Hawkins, who is out sick today. So happy to answer any questions or comment after. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else? We're good? So we don't have Casey here. We have Katie. Are we doing updates today? Not doing updates. Okay, so then we'll just go into our discussion about EDC's role in Adventure Festival fundraising. You ready, Isaac? Okay. So I wasn't here in January, and I understand, or I read the minutes, that we as a committee decided that we would assist in the fundraising effort for the Adventure Festival. However, when it was presented at the city council, minute number 52 said that we would be responsible for the sponsorship, and we just want to clarify that we don't have the manpower as all working committee members to do that fundraising in that amount of money.
I think your motion at the meeting stands as, so your intent was to help. Understood.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because at council it said that we would be the fundraising entity for that event. I just wanted to make sure.
Well, what are you worried about? Are you worried about being held accountable for something?
Yes.
Metrics? There's nothing like that. I
Okay.
mean, it's much like it was last year where, you had mentioned, potentially helping, some council members had mentioned getting EC to help. It's an odd position as staff to be in, right? We work for the taxpayers. It's kind of hard to go ask a taxpayer, hey, would you give us some more money? Like it's a difficult spot. And without a community group to do this, we look for partners to help. You helped a little bit last year, helped with the 100-year. So make sure we're here.
Okay. We just wanted to make sure that at the end of the day, if we were unsuccessful in achieving the overall goal, because I do know you want it to be sustainable, that it wouldn't fall to us.
Yeah, I think if we were to come ask for specifics.
Okay. And then I know that you and I talked about the amount. Do you get anywhere with those amounts being significantly greater than what our community typically?
No, the city
Contribute.
manager and council are pretty firm. This event is $100,000 event. Essentially, it's $90,000. That's a pretty big impact. The first year we did it, we pulled from agency. That means those funds are not budgeted. So one of the things the council was seeking, make sure that this event's sustainable. And one of those metrics is to actually target full cost recovery. And one of those methods is sponsorship. We need to know is through putting this out, not just through you, but Treadway Events has been apt to do fundraising as well. Through these mechanisms, can we fund it? Can this community keep supporting this event at this level? Because if they can't, we're gonna have some discussions about how we do that with the budget. Does council want to continue? The only people with the authority to change this would be council or the city manager. Spoke with the city manager. She said that she's really committed to cost recovery this year, making sure that we have a picture, trying to get to net zero. I've had communications with council. They also have said the same, where say, yes, this is aggressive for our community. Yes, this does seem like a lot, but we do need doing that this year.
Okay.
It doesn't mean we wouldn't accept less or be negotiable on some of these, but they are looking to make.
And I know that you and I chatted offline about the contributions of $750 as the minimum threshold. Would there be some documentation or information, something that we can provide to other people who want to give the $250 or the $500 or even the $100?
We would accept any donation through this. I think that, in here when they're talking about, where amount due and sponsorship package, if somebody wants to give 50 or 100 or a number that's not on the list, on that amount due line, they would just put whatever's in there. It's just that the sponsorship packages don't kick in until. So if I personally wanted to give $30, I would use this form. I would put 30 in the amount due, stated as the amount I would be donating, but there would just be no sponsorship. I gave 5,000, I would put that in there. And then of course.
So when you say sponsorship package, so at $750, I get a supporter package. So supporter, right? Yes, supporter package, which is I didn't see it, so I beg your pardon. What is that? Here it is. Text the business name, placement on digital event posters. Your name on a Facebook page, brand specific social media post, home page, and a 10 by 10 exhibitor space. Oh, so is this what the amount for all of the people that would come, the booths essentially?
The 10 by 10.
$750?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So with
I was wondering where the booths came in.
yeah, so they're on every tier of the sponsorship. Essentially, in addition to all of the other outreach.
It's not booth rental though, it's sponsorship.
What's not booth rental?
No, it is the actual booth, it's the physical space at the event. So if I personally gave $750, I would get a free booth space. We can't supply it, the canopy, but you would actually get a booth space if you wanted it to come.
But we're also renting booths too, right?
Yes, additionally, so on a private matter. So there's a separate, there is a cost associated with renting a booth, insurances for some types of businesses. So it's not just going to be that, but basically you would get an entrance into the exhibitor section of the event.
We have information, like, are we supposed to, if we can, sell the booths?
I mean, if you want to reach out and local businesses or individuals, you can, but that's not part of the sponsorship necessarily. That's kind of, from what we've seen, folks who kind of run the event circuit or want to participate in these things, we reach out to them. Treadway contact everybody that they work with, not just at our event, but other events as well, saying here's this happening. They post on like festival.net, which is an event aggregation site. Facebook, the people who look for these events do find them. We're already in contact with farmers market folks, try to get them up there this year. So that's not necessarily a part of it. If you want to try to promote that too, you most certainly can. But that's not part of the sponsorship.
Who would we direct them to?
Myself, it could be the Scappoose Adventure Festival website, Facebook page.
Okay, so you're the guy.
Yes.
Isaac, that's fantastic. Okay, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So first of all, full disclosure, I think it's great, but I can't help. I think I mentioned because I am the event coordinator for Run with Neil, and I'm also asking for sponsorship for that the same day. So I've been doing that for 3 years. So But the question I had when I was just looking over this was, we know that we had the last 2 years, but I didn't really see, because we didn't have a great sponsorship last year. So what can the people going out and say, well, here's what we're doing better. Here's how it's going to be improved. Here's how we, because it was just like a hype thing of like, oh, it's going to be great next year. Well, okay, cool. Marketing. But do we have something that says, hey, these are the changes we've made to whether it be increase attendance or something like
Yeah,
that?
we can get that for sure. I mean, you're right. It is important to have some kind of something to rest it on, right? I think this year, our big thing this year is, we had the event last year. We do have the attendance numbers. We have feedback from the community about it. We've made some changes. We learned that music was too loud at night. Learned that booth rentals were too much, and trying to attract more people. And so, I think one of the biggest things Treadway is doing this year is that now that we have the logo in place, we have all the connections to the vendors. We have all of these rights and wrongs. They can spend less dollars on trying to set up the event and more dollars on trying to do marketing to try to bring more. That's one of the other things with an event like this that community, it's great, right? We're going to get people local here that hear about it. But when you want to grow an event that's sustainable, you have to start pulling from outside your community. So we do St. Helens, maybe grow, pulling from marketing areas a little bit more to try to get people to come to the event rather than just, hey, I'm going to drive down to Veterans.
Hey, Isaac, I'm trying to add these up, but do you know approximate total of what we collected in donations last year?
Yeah, so last year we were sitting at about 22 to 27, depending on how you made the math. That is about a third of the event budget.
And in the handout I gave everybody, second page, I think it's the second page, but anyway, it's what we actually were able to sell sponsorships at.
Oh, I know that there was an amendment
Yeah, the amendments
on
on there.
yesterday, and he had amended the amount. Obviously, so when I know you just told me 25,000, but when I just add up the 5,000s, I get more than that
5,000s.
on this that you provided.
That was the ones on the left, the far right column. That was the 100-year event.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
That event was quite different. Right? That was a once in 100 years. It was a whole different base for people coming and participating. That's just the data I had. The spreadsheet that I have access to didn't have good numbers from last year, what we sold for who. I believe a lot of the folks on there that did sponsor weren't back on top. Where those- You did ask for a list of previous sponsors. That's what.
Just like last year's. Could we have that?
No, because there were so many people fundraising. The only people that would have that would be Treadway, I would think, or maybe accounting here at City Hall.
The actual, you're looking for the actual who sponsored.
So we
what
could
on there.
call them back, right? We know that they've given in the past.
Yeah, I can definitely send that out. We did aggregate all that data for council when we come back to talk about it.
Okay.
We have a full cost accounting. What it costs.
Fantastic. So the binder we talked about.
I'm not familiar with that.
So when Susie was a part of our group, just so everybody knows, Susie did the last Sauerkraut Festival and the 100-year, as I recall. And she had a binder that she worked with in conjunction with the community center. That's right, community center, community club. Community club. And she had there was a binder, and I ran into her about the binder. She confirmed its existence, but do we know what happened to it?
I never received it. I did receive a copy of a lot of sponsors from her. When we did the 100-year fundraising, we found a lot of contacts were out of date. They moved out of town. They had changed. So we developed a list that included them. What we could validate, I don't know where her actual binder went.
Okay.
And we never were in possession. As far as I recall, she never gave me any binder. Whatever was in.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So we as a committee, all of us, yeah, how do we want to kind of tackle it? Do we want to do this collectively? Do we want to do this individually? We want to do it. Our portion, a portion, because it was agreed on in that January meeting.
Like I said, I would love to help, but like I'm literally going to the same guys and just asking for as little as possible. Just anything they can help out with the run at the same time. I think it would kind of be hard for me to have like two books and
Right.
try to do that. So
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, please, thank you.
So, we don't necessarily have to do this because the decision's already been made to help. The decisions that come after about who's doing what, those don't have to be part of it. Those kind of decisions are operational for you as volunteers to help.
But
We
we
can
can-
negotiate that over.
Oh, we can. I
Yeah,
thought
it's
if
not-
I thought if we had a group meeting, if we had a group discussion over email, that was considered a meeting.
Now, decisions that are material to the public interest, yes, this is not.
Okay.
This is not that.
We don't have to talk.
This is-
We can
We
hash it
can,
out
we
later.
can send emails about, now you're operating as volunteer. We can send an email, see who we hear back. Hey, who's actually interested in helping? 1, 2, 3, however many people, and it's easier to coordinate. Talk to who, and then
Okay, fantastic.
Excuse me, have we thought at all about advertising this adventure festival through Earth Day on April 22nd, having a booth over there so people that come from out of the area can see what we plan to do for Earth Day and, you know,
we can certainly have.
plant a
something
little
there.
seed?
We can certainly have something there. I think at Earth Day last year we had 40 to 50 people attend.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that was with 2 weeks of planning.
Yeah.
We're planning 2
And
months.
I
in
would
advance.
hazard to guess that most of those. We can definitely figure something out.
We're giving away an electric bike that you
Hmm.
have to be present to win, so that adds to the stickiness of the event.
You see our PUD for the bike. Questions?
I've got a question.
Lynn, I haven't heard from you in so long. Microphone, Lynn. Scooch up to the table.
Yeah, join us.
Thanks. My suggestion would be is to go to Betsy Johnson and have Betsy do about 3 clients, Cal Portland, Fred Myers, and Michael Curry.
Should go to Betsy.
Have somebody go to Betsy.
Lynn,
We operate in different cycles periodically. So right now, we're not in the high cycle. So I followed her election with a couple of campaign notes and commentaries. And so I'm not probably on the top of her good list. I'll put it that way. But yeah, because Betsy's got the info, she can pick up and talk to the president of X, Y, and Z. And I don't think anybody else in Scappoose has that field of activity. And and start early, because these companies do their budgets early in the year. And so if they're going to be granting funds, you have to get those dollars designated and pocketed. So we can't wait until June or July before we start making those approaches.
tiny thing, because I'm assuming this is our budget that we'd asked for. I don't have my glasses, so I can't really see it. But if we don't get enough money, like through sponsorships, and I understand that you want it to be self-sustaining, would particular events be cut?
I think that a determination about what would or wouldn't stay would be left to council.
Of course.
Couldn't speak.
Of course.
I don't know. We are in budgeting right now. Have some budget meetings, kind of have a better understanding of what the general fund looks like. If it's available to move towards this event. I think it would be safe to say that if further away we are from cost recovery, more likely it is that the event will be scaled some way. What that looks like, I don't really.
Okay, that was my only question. Fantastic. Anyone else?
Mayor Joe, what connections do you have?
Well, a lot of kids. I coached a lot of kids that have, right. So I can hit up all the kids, and I just bought some tickets from some baseball fundraiser, so I'm sure I can go back at them and hit up the Little League and hit them
What
up.
would be an idea? don't have fees at the high school right now, $175 savings for sports. You could go and collect that from the parents.
I think the school district did have a booth at the last year's one, so, and they are gonna be pushing a bond pretty heavily, so we might be able to try to get them to invest a little bit more, bang for their buck. But, yeah, I've got my feelers out. Email you provided in last week says that they are working on it and working on some good possible sponsors, but I did like the idea of Betsy. Her Rolodex is quite large right now, and she could reach out to a lot of people.
Scott was responsible for getting several donations last year, but I don't know if he has the same power as before.
I talked to him yesterday. I think it was just no's, right?
Yeah, but he got Cal Portland to.
And I do plan on having a booth at the Earth Day, and then maybe a Scappoose City booth that just there to answer questions for a couple hours, and we can have the flyers and we can have the sign up sheets there as well.
Missing booth.
On COVID.
So one more thing, you had talked about, whether you're gonna be on the hook or how this all works. Just to let you know, Treadway is involved. They actually have contracted with the last marketing outreach manager for the Blazers, who no longer works for them, help with all of the work they're doing. So they're contacting somewhere between 25 and 35 larger companies to fit this. So I think, be it sportswear and some other companies, they're looking at probably 5 to 10 sponsorships in the 2,500 to 500.
Okay.
There is a good chance. This is not like you're it.
Okay. That's what I just wanted to confirm, because again, in that minute 52 of the council meeting, Megan was very kind to thank us for it. Want to make sure.
I'd like to make a suggestion. Since local tourism is, local events are local tourism, which is economic development, I'd like to maybe task the committee that we do an economic analysis after this, and look at small events and the cost of small events like the movies in the park versus a single time event. And then maybe recommendation to council to help them with their decision as to how to go forward in the coming years. Maybe we put maybe less money into some little events that happen all year long versus a single one-shot deal that puts a lot of pressure on all of us to get these super big sponsors. So I think it would be great to have the committee come together, look at the data, and then help council make a decision.
One thing I've noticed in being involved with doing the events for the past 4 years is there's no consensus or definition of what we're trying to accomplish. It's like, are the events just for residents, or are they trying to draw people in? And when we try to draw people in, we're competing with all of these really hugely financed events in Portland and other areas. And even at $100,000, I don't see how we can compete with those.
Do a lot of events, like every weekend. A lot of events. It's not wrong.
Like a guy or
I have a smaller products. That aside, he's not wrong. The purpose of the event really changes the way it feels and the way dollars are spent. One of the challenges I see for the Scappoose community, that most of the events that I go to in smaller cities tend to have a community group. Like your Rotary, Lions, you don't have the benefit of that. Usually the way it works is the city will basically give a large sponsorship donation to that entity to run the event. As their status as a 501c3, right? They are reaping the benefits of any the extra money. So they have an incentive to do things, with the volunteers. They already have that volunteer base, something we don't have. We've been looking for a partner, but unfortunately at this point, we really don't have a good one due to this.
did community club just go away?
Yeah.
There's only 5 active members, as I understand it.
Yeah, membership is low. It's hard, with 5 people, to put on an event. It would be up to them to decide whether they hire an event coordinator or do it in-house. Obviously, in-house cheaper by 5 to 10 grand, depending on how big the event is, which means you need people on the ground to walk around during setup, to set up cones, to do maps, to call people labor. Like there's a lot of things go into it. just from what I've seen though, that's kind of what in our equation here is different. Not about necessarily if it's community size or dollars or anything. It's just that we don't have that kind of nexus group that be compelling the community that we can operate, help them put on. That would be ideally where it should reside to be maximally successful.
So I worked on Wings and Wheels. I asked Scott yesterday how much it costs to put Wings and Wheels together, and that was through the Chamber of Commerce, that group of people. And he said 15 to 20,000.
Yeah.
To put that group, and it was very well attended. If we could find a small group.
I forgot, why did Wings and Wheels cease?
Scott was pretty much the main person, and there was another lady, Kelly, who I think was Rand at one time. PCC, do you remember Kelly? Sorry. Anyway, I'm pretty sure she was Rand, and she left PCC and went back to Tigard, and so workforce was gone. Okay. So there's nothing else. Let's move it on. Is Sierra here? Here? You, Isaac. Hi, Isaac. Jay?
Not online.
I can just briefly, if she's not around at all, she did present at the CET meeting yesterday, day before. It's all going so fast, but they'll keep it local. I would recommend to go onto the website. I'm sure she has her link there, but they're doing a soft opening right now and trying to get people. I even registered myself last night, but then it wants some more stuff about businesses, but they've got a really good website going. You can register for free, and then there's other levels if you want to pay. And then I think the hard openings come in April, but some really good information where you can just go onto the website and type in contractor, and it will show you all the local contractors or whatever you're looking for.
But that also means the local businesses have to register on the website.
Yeah, and even if, she'd like keep it local, go on there and register. They do have a bunch of people on an old registry. They'll transfer over, but if you're not on that, go in there. She said play around with it for now, and then it will go. I'm trying to find it in my packet here.
It's a little glitchy right now for the business registration, but Sierra contacted me yesterday and said they were gonna fix that. Like right now, you have to use the complete website what it does is it takes like all of your social media and your website and stuff, and then buries it behind a button that displays on your listing on the main site. But right now, you have to enter the full website address.
Okay. Oh, I get it.
So you can't just say scappooselibrary.org. It has to be https:/.
My. So when we were talking about this before she was going to be on this, we talked about, is there a way city, and Jay, this is for you, city could, I don't know if you guys have the power to email all of the businesses just based off their business license and just say, hey, go and update your information on this site if you want to be found, kind of as a public
Yeah.
service.
We could certainly look into that.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened to her, but let's move on to Paul's questions. It's a very skinny meeting because we had a lot carved out for this downtown overlay thing.
Hi. For those of you that haven't read this, it's a very fascinating read. No, so Laura, just kind of wondering, what, you're going to do discussion, but what are you looking for from us? What questions are out there right now? And then what are the outcomes that you're possibly looking for?
I mean, ultimately, we would be looking at this chapter as part of the overall code changes that would come about and get adopted as part of the 50-year planning project. Some things I've heard this committee mention is looking at the boundary of the downtown overlay. So revisiting that. Also, I've heard aesthetic looking at the aesthetics that are required for building fronts in the downtown overlay. Obviously, we're looking at the lighting issue. And then aside from just the lighting standard, there are only certain corridors within the downtown overlay where that decorative lighting is required. So maybe looking, do we want it on other streets that are within the downtown overlay, but that aren't currently identified as needing that type of lighting? Anything else you want to mention?
The only other thing I would mention is that we were hoping to do this as and we still definitely have the time to do this, but as a multi-part process where we go over the basics of what the downtown overlay is, where it's located, and how it works, and sort of get some initial thoughts on the broader topics that Lori mentioned. And then we would go bring this information that you all gave us back to the 50-year plan consultant group that we're working with. And then we would also take a look at what some other cities are doing in their downtown overlays to achieve the kinds of things that you all want Scappoose to reflect. And then we would have some, at a future meeting, we would have some tangible code changes for you all to potentially look at and then get feedback on.
Chris, did you have anything else you wanted to share about just known issues or things? Yeah.
Mike. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, yeah. Let's see. Was that the only question or did you have specific?
Well, so for instance, we've been talking a lot about, how can we drive economic growth? That's what we're supposed to do. And then, ultimately it comes down to what amenities can we offer possible businesses, right? So obviously there's land and all that other stuff, but a lot of other places have land. And then we go, okay, well, what else does it, what else do we offer? And then we go to, hey, recreation. We got some recreation here. That's pretty cool. And then we go to, quaint downtown amenities. And, usually on a grading from high to low, we're not on the highest level, obviously, very low. So I think Len said we lack a certain quaintness or something like that, quote unquote. And so with the 50-year plan, plus with, looking at these things, and then of course, urban renewal, how can we really make a plan to go after this? You can look at, we talk about it a lot, Sandy, Oregon, 20 years ago was, completely different town with how it looks now. They obviously had a pretty aggressive plan. And, luckily we just added these chargers here, which is amazing. If you look at what happens with chargers is it actually is a draw for people. They have to sit for 20 to 30 minutes. And looking at the downtown overlay and then how can we address some of the limitations that we have now beyond, maybe it's code changes, but maybe it's other things. And
I do have, so, I think everyone knows we have a lean staff here. And so when we have a large project like the 50-year plan kicked off, it's hard then to take on additional grant opportunities, things like that. However, DLCD and ODOT have a joint program. It's the TGM grant, Transportation Growth Management. One component of the type of grant that they offer, though, is looking at downtowns, basically, and how land use and transportation kind of tie together in some of these key areas. And so they do offer some assistance to communities where they will look at sort of a downtown development area and really help a community come up with sort of even some of the aesthetics. They'll do sort of conceptual development plans for redevelopment of certain areas. And so my thought was that once it's kind of a timing thing again, because we can only take on so much at a time, but I really would be interested in having us apply for a grant like that once the 50-year plan has commenced so that we have staff time to implement and coordinate. But I think that would be exceptionally helpful to have them assist the city with some of that urban design work look at this. We always would have the option, if we don't want to make whole scale changes to this code currently, to hold off on that portion of it and then work with them through that process and do those changes after. That's an option as well. Or we can move forward, see what we want to change as part of this process, and then bring them on board if we were to be awarded a grant to do that work subsequent to completing the 50-year plan. So I think that that would really give us additional resources to look at, how could we reimagine the downtown area looking? So that's an option too, but that's going to be towards the end of 2024, mid to late 2024, that we're wrapping up the 50-year plan, and then we would have staff capacity then to enter into a grant project like that.
I mean, it'd be nice to tie in some other levers too,
Yeah.
like urban renewal, because right now
And it would absolutely overlay.
that we don't really have any guidelines toward it or,
April 17th.
yeah, so it'd be nice to align those things.
Yep.
And then ultimately, like, look at, I was talking to Chris about, like other properties, like just directly north of City Hall there, right over here.
Yeah.
And, possibility of a vacation with the railroad of some sort. This is not my technical area, sorry, Chris. But how could, that's one of the last spots of land that's actually not, open, that area over there. So, maybe we would guide some development that way. Because that's actually a blank slate that we could maybe create something.
Well, I don't think that
Ideas.
there's going to be width there for any kind of buildings or anything, but certainly we have conceptual plans for even just like public parking, where if we are starting to have more events in this downtown area, that we have actual parking for folks. And, I've even thought about, to your point about having the smaller, more frequent community events. I currently reside in Hillsborough, and, they have a first Tuesday art walk. It's great, and things like that, things that maybe are really low budget impacts to the city, but that get people out, that get people interested. I realize we don't maybe have, art shops per se, nor do they have a ton of art shops, but what they will have, say they have an art store, or they have a music store, or some of the existing businesses could host artwork from artists in the community, even if it's a hair salon, right? They could have art on the wall that maybe they coordinate with a local artist that wants to hang up some pieces, and, maybe they can get some sales. Anyway, I just, starting to think of things like that maybe we could pull together on a small scale to get started, to get people downtown.
Chris?
Thanks. I just want to mention that the vacation for that right away, it's in process. We don't know how long it's going to take, but the intent there is that we'd have significant on-street parking, and the new code allows businesses to utilize on-street parking now as to fulfill the requirement for some of.
It's a request. It's not granted.
Oh, it's not granted, but they can request, and so that sort of enables some of those adjacent properties then to redevelop because they would be able to utilize possibly on-street parking to meet their parking requirements. And so that's a huge benefit to helping the downtown redevelop, and it creates a nice pedestrian corridor and provides that separation from rail. So.
It is challenging. I have seen that parking for businesses downtown is very limiting to then what can develop there, because some of the parcel sizes are quite small. Even this building that they're proposing north of City Hall in the gravel lot, they're looking at a alternative parking analysis because they can't get, they're looking at mixed use, right? So they want to do a brewery on the first floor and living space above. But to park it according to what our code requires is extremely limiting. And so offering some flexibility on parking standards in the downtown overlay, which our code does include, but I think we could look at expanding that. I think it would lead to more development and help some of those smaller parcels, redevelop, especially we have a lot of the older homes on West First Street that haven't developed yet or redeveloped. Maybe that would help with that.
So, I mean, it's an opportunity and, we're not going to have too many opportunities like this. I look at it and go, yeah, could be a great solution, but what if we brought in someone conceptually now and said, you know what, we're not going to have a road there. Or that's going to be a walkable area. And that will be our walkable downtown. That's no longer a road. And then you could develop it in that way. I mean, and all of a sudden we have, it's fabricated, but we need to fabricate something, a walkable area. Maybe it's only, not that long, but it's something. My point is that we're at a time period that we can't do everything right now, but maybe we have someone that's got some vision, a consultant of some sort that'd come in and go, hey, I understand your plight. Here's what I've done to other towns. And you've got this area that you could turn it into here.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the grant I was speaking of would help us do. And as far as that area, the street right away that's being vacated or the rail that's being vacated, it's not wide enough per se for development because the street actually needs to be widened to meet standards. And so that's why I'm saying with the depth of the lot would not support development of structures per se. But certainly it's going to increase capacity for development in the area just because then potentially it's addressing some of the parking so that it's not taking up, a third or a quarter of the site that wants to be developed. Yeah, it's a great opportunity, I think, for all of us to just reopen this code to see what we might want to do. And then one of the next steps in the 50-year plan project is going to be looking at code changes across a few other chapters of the code as well. And so we do have consultant time already allocated to that code work. And so we will ask them to present some comparables to the committee and so that you guys can have a look at what some other communities are doing. And maybe if you're out and about over the next few months in any kind of town that really piques your interest or that you like the look of, you can let us know. We could always pull their development code and have a look at that as a committee project.
I have one more question if no one else does. So we had a great presentation last week and there's all these arts grants out there. And it kind of left us floored because it was like, they look at these towns and they spend hardly anything to get beautification. So how can we do that? We got the presentation and then that was it. So would that be something that your staff goes after or how would we do that?
Yeah, so Wella did a great presentation. Actually and we will bring more information back to you. There's some flyers that are being created right now, but as part of the work that CET is doing right now to brand Columbia County, there's going to be a steering committee and there's going to be a couple of workshops. They'll be May 17th and May 18th. May 18th is the EDC meeting date in May. And so the thought was that we would have this committee participate in the workshops that they are doing. And it's really to get feedback from the communities on basically the projects that they might be able to implement at the local level in their downtowns to spur tourism. And so you guys all could have an impact and provide feedback on to that larger committee to see what types of projects we could do. And I do think that it would be the city that would be applying for some of those grants. And so hopefully that would be a good educational piece about what's out there. And then we can certainly try to look into those grant opportunities more and bring back more information. Cause I think you're right. I mean, the opportunity to do the murals like what they did in Vernonia, it makes such a huge impact. And we have, I think, a lot of places here that we could take advantage of that. Yeah. That we can bring some more information back.
Silo.
Big
I don't know
silo.
if you heard that.
Right now, it just has a base coat on it.
Yeah, just the base coat,
Okay.
primer coat.
Second biggest silo in the world.
My gosh, we're famous again. You sure?
It used to be the biggest, but then there got made one in Russia in 2011.
You sure?
Yeah.
Nebraska's
It's
got a
on the
lot of
Wikipedia
big place.
page.
We lost the biggest candle.
That could be a branding. We're number 2. Come to
Oh,
Scappoose for a big number 2.
so many levels. Okay, so there's no more about
Thank you.
the items. I have things. Oh, I want to make sure I just wrote it down. Let's give these back to NJ so he doesn't have to kill more trees. Our packets for next time. What happened with the food carts? Because I know they're supposed to break ground this month, but I haven't seen any bulldozers at all.
Where are we at?
I just got the plans yesterday. So I'm gonna be looking at those. They're pretty good shape this go around. So we anticipate a speedy review. And yeah, we're gonna start that later this week, actually. So hope to have that turned around and then get final plans going, and they can kick the project off hopefully sometime in April.
But you're supposed to take the dog out. You know. And then, oh, just so everybody knows, on my little hotel project, I am meeting with the hotel developers on the 31st of this month, and we're showing them 2 different properties. And when I talked to the developer yesterday, he has one who is very, very interested and will be coming, but we also have 2 or 3 other franchisees in the Choice Hotels network that are interested in our tiny little town. Yay. That's the 31st.
Lori, do we have an update on several new eating establishments that were
Yeah, what are those?
discussed?
So there are 3 parcels north of the old Sears building. They have single family homes on them currently. We did have our inquiry meeting with their team recently. They did confirm that one of the fast food restaurants would be Taco Bell. We do not know what the second one will be fast food wise. And then the third restaurant is sit down. They do not know what that will be yet, or they did not say what that would be.
Let's speculate. So I'm not Taco Belly, but isn't there like sometimes don't those restaurants partner? Like I don't Taco Bell, but everybody does.
Yeah, but usually those would be in the same building, sort of, you know, how they do it in the same building. These are definitely separate buildings. So I don't know.
Family, right?
Yeah,
Well, Taco Bell's owned by what, Yum Brands, and they have
Maybe
a
we'll
number
go
of
Yum.
others.
Yum's decent.
So
Not Taco Bell.
that's all we know so far.
Right. Anything else? Ready? Then to next meeting. So I was mistaken, Brenda. We will have our April 20th meeting. As Lori just said, we probably will be in a meeting on May 18th, but not here. We're going to be.
That's
with the
correct.
team.
And we will bring you more information during the April 20th meeting. Some of that information should be nailed down. We don't have locations identified at this point. So yeah,
Bus tour? Bus tour.
there could be a component
We'll
of
have to
that.
get on that. That'll be
Yes,
fun.
yes. So we will share that out with you as soon as we have more details.
Okay. And then June, you left off June 15th.
Yeah, I did. June 15th.
Okay, I didn't know if it was tentative because it was,
No, I forgot to put it in.
okay. And everybody has to go to the annual town meeting. If you're on our committee, please attend the meeting. For that, if you're on our committee, please attend the meeting.
There will be a table.
We will have a booth. Will we have a 50-year booth and a ET?
Yes.
or a
we have a full
EDC
table.
booth?
Yes, I'm working on a full table.
Yeah, 'cause last year we shared with the port and somebody else's. There's
Full table. Oh, yeah, and Scappoose Bagel will be providing bagels. Dutch Bros will be providing coffee.
Chris likes donuts at his
Yep.
meeting.
And Brown Butter Bakery will be providing mini cinnamon rolls. And, oh, Dutch Bros will also have hot chocolate.
Nice.
We usually have a fruit tray or two as well.
It's a good event.
Jay's really stepping up in the food area.
And then joint urban renewal EDC, April 17th. Oh, yeah, that's the evening one. That's,
Yes,
does
yes.
everybody know this? I. Up in April? It's cold. Proud of you. Okay,
I'd like to add that the city council's asked me to present the same presentation that I presented to you guys last week. And I'll be doing that on Monday
this Monday.
coming up. Yeah.
Mhm.
So if anyone wants to attend,
Cheerlead for Paul.
you're allowed to applause, I'm told. Nope, Joe's shaking his head. It'll be the first time I speak that I get more than 5 minutes at the city council meeting. So I'll be taking advantage of that.
You don't have to tell people your address this time.
Nope, nope, exactly. It's at 7.
Actually, it's at 6 o'clock because it's an urban renewal agency meeting.
No,
It's-
Oh,
talking about Paul's branding presentation.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Never mind. 7 o'clock.
You're in the
regular
body of the
council.
meeting, not the work
Yes.
session, right?
That's right. So it'd be great because if anything, they might have some discussions, and as a business leader, you could always raise your hand to add in if there was any questions.
Mhm.
We'll come to support you, Paul.
That'd be great.
Anything else? Oh, NJ?
On the note of branding, very soon, we after Paul's presentation, we are going to have Dan Rocha, who does consulting on branding. This is like his thing. He is going to meet with staff, and then we're going to schedule him to come to economic development, and then we're going to schedule him to come to city council. And what he's going to do in those rounds is just look for all of the components that we're going to put in a scope of work to then get started with the contract process so we can get someone on board for branding.
And I know that you and I chatted about the CGI video and it didn't show up as an agenda, probably because our agenda was so robust at the time. So
Mhm.
when we'll be discussing that CGI video?
We could maybe do it at April. I need to see if it works with their schedule because we're trying to shoot in the spring. But do you want to discuss it in April?
I think so.
Okay.
I think we totally do.
Okay. We would ask you all, we would show you the script and then we would go paragraph by paragraph and look at some of the locations for where the city's video is going to be shot. I don't know for sure if April will work with their schedule, but I'll check with them.
I thought we were going to kind of discuss what things that we thought as a group we wanted to feature.
Right, exactly. Like the video part of
Okay.
it. Yeah. There will be a voiceover and then it'll, do different
voice?
scenic shots of the city.
We're getting James Earl Jones, who's doing the voice.
Morgan Freeman, actually.
Oh, okay. The other. Okay. That's it for me. Anyone? I think we're adjourned then. Thank you so much. Thursday, enjoy the sunshine. 65 today. 65 might snow next week, but 65 today. Can't send
On the adventure? I think a lot of us. I mean. I look at that and, oh my God, and I went last year, and I didn't, and get it in the.
and like April
But,
20th, got a big event.
So what am I really, I don't have any sell there, but, I want to give money. And, like